Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
I noticed her on a Monday morning just after 6:30 am, small, pale, and quiet as a shadow. The fireplace in the lobby crackled weakly, casting trembling orange light on the worn armchair where she sat, legs drawn to her chest, coat far too thin for a Montana spring. She looked maybe 9 years old, maybe less, with knotted brown hair and eyes that didn't meet mine. I didn't speak at first. She didn't either. The front doors hadn't opened. I would have heard the bell chime. She had just appeared, like frost on glass. Unnoticed until you look closely. "Would you like something to drink?" I asked gently as I wiped down the reception counter. She flinched at the sound of my voice, then nodded once. "Water," she said. No please, no smile. Just that single word, like a pebble dropped into a still lake. I brought it in a teacup, not a plastic glass. She wrapped her hands around it like it was sacred. By the time the morning guests came down for breakfast, she was gone. The same thing happened Tuesday and Wednesday. Always early, always silent, always gone before the housekeeper, Deb, started vacuuming the hall rugs. "She's a vagrant," Deb whispered to me that Thursday, peering suspiciously through the lace curtain. "You can't just let her wander in here." "She's a child," I replied. "She doesn't steal. She just sits. She's trouble," she warned, wagging a red lacquered fingernail at me. But I remembered what it felt like to be small and invisible. My aunt never raised her hand, just her voice, loud and cruel enough to make walls tremble. I had slept in bathtubs, under desks, on church pews. If a stranger had handed me a cup of water back then, I might have cried. So the next morning I brought toast and strawberry jam on a saucer. "Extra from breakfast prep," I said casually, setting it near her. She hesitated, looking up at me, really looking for the first time. Her lips parted as if she might ask something. Then she ate, slowly but completely. No thank you, no questions, but she licked the jam from her fingers, and something about that broke me a little. That night after my shift, I waited in the lobby long past sundown. When she showed up near 10, shivering and damp from the drizzle outside, I unlocked room 2C, the smallest, oldest room with a leaking radiator, and let her in. "Just tonight," I said, holding her gaze. "No one needs to know." She nodded. Silent agreement. No joy, no relief, just quiet acceptance. I found her a towel, left a warm muffin on the nightstand, and closed the door. The next morning she was gone again before dawn. And so began our unspoken rhythm. Breakfast. Silence. Disappearing footprints. Some nights she returned. I left the key taped under the second fire extinguisher. Simon, the manager, didn't notice at first. He rarely did, unless it involved money or noise complaints. But the others whispered. Staff. Even a few guests. "She's not your problem," Deb snapped one afternoon as I refilled the coffee urn. "Kids like that end up on the news." I wanted to say something, anything, but instead, I just stared at the empty chair by the fire and wondered how long she had been surviving without someone asking if she was okay. It wasn't pity I felt, it was recognition. And it was growing into something dangerous. By the second week, people began to notice. Not the guests, they rarely saw beyond their breakfast trays and weekend pamphlets, but the staff. It started with sideways glances. Then came the questions, wrapped in concern but dripping suspicion. "Still giving her food?" asked Jenny, the cook, one morning as she chopped onions with swift, practiced movements. "You're not even on shift yet." "She's hungry," I answered, setting a plate with half a bagel and an apple slice on a tray. "I know what that feels like," Jenny sighed. "You're kind, Eliza. But kindness can get twisted." Later that day, Simon called me into his office. I stood there under the flickering fluorescent light, the smell of printer ink and lemon cleaner sharp in my nose. He closed the door softly. "I've had 2 complaints," he began, adjusting his tie though it was already straight. "From guests. One said there's a child sleeping in the East Wing without registration. She's not causing trouble. She's not registered," he repeated, eyes narrowing. "You think if something happens to her here, the cops will thank us for letting it slide? We're liable." I paid for the room. "From my paycheck," I said. Simon stared at me as if I'd grown a second head. "You what?" "It's $30 a night. I've kept the receipts." His jaw twitched. Even if you pay, company policy says no one under 16 stays unaccompanied. No exceptions. I like you, Eliza, but I won't lose this place because you have a bleeding heart. I'll stop, I said, but even as I said it, I knew I wouldn't. Not really. That night, I checked room 2C empty, the bed untouched, the towel folded neatly on the rack like it had never left. I waited until midnight. Then 2. But she didn't come. The next morning, the fireplace chair remained cold and unoccupied. So did the next, and the next. By the 5th day, the whispers grew louder. Deb cornered me by the mail rack. She probably got picked up by police, she said with relish. Runaways don't last long. Either that or, she trailed off, smiling darkly. Well, you've seen the papers. She's not a stray dog, I snapped. She's a child. Deb tilted her head. You don't even know her name. She was right. I didn't, and that haunted me more than anything. Left alone that evening, I remembered what my father once told me before an accident. Be the hand you once needed. By the 10th day, I had memorized the pattern of the front door's bell. Every ring set my nerves alight. I'd look up, breath held. Delivery guy, tourist, local couple. Never her. On the 14th day, Simon posted a new memo in the staff kitchen. No free meals. No unofficial guests. No exceptions. I didn't sleep that night. I just kept seeing her empty chair, her hands around the teacup, the way she chewed toast like she hadn't eaten in days. Next morning arrived cold and windless. I unlocked the lobby doors at 6:30 sharp, as always, half hoping to see her waiting outside in her hoodie and scuffed sneakers. But there was no one. Only frost on the stone steps and a silence that scratched at my nerves. I cleaned the fireplace chair, though it was already clean. Polished the brass knob on the lobby desk. I couldn't sit still. And then suddenly, out of the blue, I saw it, her drawing, tucked beneath the old guest book in the reception drawer. A crayon sketch of a small girl holding a flower, standing beside someone tall with the ponytail. Me. In the corner, a crooked heart and the caption. Leela Thompson. It hit like a fist. By noon, I called the county school district pretending to be a distant relative, asking if a girl named Leela, though I wasn't even sure that was her name, had recently enrolled. The answer was no. The woman on the line sounded kind but firm. Maybe call Child Protective Services, she said, if you're worried. Was I worried? No, I was terrified. What if something had happened? That night, Jenny found me in the supply closet, just sitting on an overturned crate, staring at nothing. You okay? She asked, softer now, not judgmental, just human. I shook my head. She's gone, Jenny, and I let her walk away. Jenny crouched beside me. You fed her. You sheltered her. You did what most wouldn't. Maybe I should have called someone. A shelter, a hotline. Maybe. But maybe she would have run. You did what felt right. Still, guilt pressed against my ribs like a weight I couldn't shake. On the 19th day, I had nearly convinced myself she was a dream. Until I heard the roar of engines outside and saw the convoy of military jeeps roll into our quiet gravel lot. I froze. Then came the sound of heavy boots. And then, we're looking for Eliza Brooks. Several pairs of boots stopped in front of the check-in desk. I looked up into the sharp eyes of a uniformed woman, her chest heavy with medals, her expression carved from stone. Are you Eliza Brooks? She asked. I nodded, heart thudding. Yes. She extended a gloved hand. Colonel Marion Rhodes, U.S. Army Special Operations. Guests had fallen silent. Even Simon stepped out from the office, brows furrowed. The colonel pulled 2 envelopes from her coat. Miss Brooks, you are mentioned by name in a letter written by Sergeant Marcus Thompson before he died in Syria. My knees nearly gave out. She placed the first envelope on the desk. This one's official. The other, she paused, voice softening, is from him. For you. I stared at the second envelope, handwritten, edges weathered. Turns out Lila lived nearby until her father, Sergeant Marcus Thompson, went on a covert operation overseas. Her mother had abandoned her unexpectedly, leaving Leela to survive alone with dwindling cash. She, Leela, is safe now, the colonel added. She's with her grandparents in Colorado. She mentioned you. Said you made her feel like a person when the world forgot she was a child. I opened my mouth, but no words came. She never forgot the toast, or the fireplace. Simon stepped forward, stunned. Eliza, you knew her father was a soldier. I didn't know anything, I whispered. I just saw a scared little girl. Colonel Rhodes nodded. That was enough. There was silence in the hall. Guests and staff, many of whom had doubted me, looking down in quiet shame and awe. Colonel Rhodes salutes me. I froze in place. I was so moved that tears ran down my face. News of my quiet heroism spread all over town and the internet. Guests began visiting the Willows Inn not only for rest, but to meet the receptionist who once saved a child with breakfast and empathy. Simon, the manager, places an American flag at the front desk and a plaque that reads, "To those who serve and those who care." I sat behind the front desk long after the colonel left, her boots echoing like punctuation marks down the corridor. The letter from Sergeant Marcus trembled in my hands as I opened it. To the kind soul who fed my daughter toast when the world fed her silence. My eyes burned. His words spilled across the page like a father's last heartbeat, thanking me, begging the universe to repay my kindness in a world where he no longer could. By morning, the news had spread. A local reporter showed up, asking if I was the receptionist with the toast. I almost laughed. That afternoon, a woman approached the desk, her coat worn, the boy clinging to her side. "We don't need a room," she said nervously. "Just a place to sit a moment, and maybe a glass of water?" I saw Leela in that boy's eyes. I smiled and rose. "Would he like toast and jam?" The woman blinked, tearing up. "More than anything." Simon watched from the stairs, arms folded. Then he came down, placed something on the desk beside me, a carved wooden sign that had 5 simple words written on it. "No one goes hungry here." I touched the edge of the sign, heart aching and full. This time, I would be the hand someone else needed. I'm going to help people.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.